in Kannada, it is called Attimara,
Okay.
or it's also called Audumbara tree. It's basically, I think in Hindi it is called Guler. It's basically the cluster fig.
Hmm.
It's the same family as your Banyan people, all of that. Uh, and here in this part of the world, it has two spiritual connections. One is as the Audumbara, the place where Guru Dattatreya got his enlightenment, and he also preached to his students, etc. That is why it's called Audumbara tree. And like the trees of that family, which is the Banyan family, right? I think it is also called ficus. In the botanical name, it is called ficus, and there are
Hmm.
lots of ficus family trees. All of them are somehow related to the enlightenment part of the spirituality. Buddha getting enlightenment. I think there is also something about Sikhism. So everywhere there are pieces of enlightenment and spirituality connected with that. Here it is Guru Dattatreya. That is one which is fairly known, but one which is very, very local to where I come from, and this part of Karnataka, South Karnataka, and maybe even Andhra, Tamil Nadu, etc., is uh, there's a farm deity called Muniappa. Okay,
Okay.
so during Kartik Somvar,
Hmm.
Kartik Somvars are anyway fairly popular in the whole religious spiritual world,
Yeah.
right? People practice a lot of things on Kartik Somvas, and one of the things which agricultural families have for long practice is Muniappa Puja, which is
Okay.
worship of the Muniappa deity. And Muniappa deity is always under an Attimara, which is
Oh.
under this particular tree.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And as a child, if you remember, I said this in the last one as well. As a child, my grandparents had a place, and they always had a Muniappa, puja, and it was for us as kids just something we went and had good food, and a lot of the like the labor who used to work on the farm, for them it was like a feast and all of that, right? There is very, very less literature about Muniappa. Okay, there is, like, if you search, you will hardly relate these two things. But again, this is where the kind of connection, that earlier one was established spirituality about Audumbara, Guru Dattatreya, and all of that, while this is
Hmm.
a very cute local thing which kind of led us. And there are things about where to place it, how to place it, as it happens that Ishanya, which is the northeast direction, which is supposed to
Hmm.
be the god direction where it needs to be, etc. So this is one plant which I actually went by. As much as, to be very, very honest, I don't believe in it. Like, like in my home, if my mom says this needs to be in this corner because of this, I'll probably deliberately place it somewhere else.
Hmm.
But on the farm, I actually went and did that. It's there. The Attimara on my farm is on the Ishanya corner. So yeah, these are one example of
Did
that.
you create a Muniappa shrine also under it?
You know what? I actually haven't. And there is a reason, again, a very religious or a spiritual reason for it as well. Apparently, once you start doing it, you're not supposed to stop it.
Right. So every
So
year you'll
my
have to.
spirituality is good enough at this moment to have that tree and
Yeah.
have that tree in the corner, but not yet to commit that I will do this every year,
Hmm.
deity worship. So not yet. Maybe someday, I don't know. But yeah, that is where we are at. But yeah, the whole reason was, at some day, if I want to do it, I should be able to do it. It's the reason why I have that tree on the farm.
It's very interesting you went into this because when I went to Ahmedabad and I started roaming around, so we stay in the outskirts of Ahmedabad, so there are few fields and stuff nearby, and I keep seeing these small shrines everywhere. In every field there is a small shrine, and I'm like, what is going on? And then I went and checked which shrine it is, and it is about snakes. Those are snake
Yeah,
shrines. And then I asked my maid about it because I don't know anything about this, right? So I asked her, and she was like, apparently it's a thing because all the fields and all, if there are any problems, like either you have wild animals like insects or some wrong kind of stuff happening, or I think it's also about the ghosts and those kind of things. Both of them these shrines take care of. So it's very interesting you're talking about this because yeah, this is happening everywhere across India. And you're right, it is not documented. Most people don't know about it. Only the locals will know, and they'll give you a name and you're just fascinated.
yeah. And that point of snakes, right? There are two
Hmm.
things. One is about this tree itself becoming I'm going to use a lot of Kannada terminology because that's the rooted
Yeah,
where
sure.
I am here, etc. But try to give you a parallel in Hindi or English. This family of tree, the Atimara or the ficus family of tree, is what is associated with most such things across religion. Okay, actually, all of this, burger, guler, people, all of this are different species from the same family of tree.
Okay.
All of them have the same kind of fruits also. Fig, okay, it is called fig, which is the same as anjeer also. Anjeer is also of the same family. Okay,
Okay.
some also have the aerial roots. Banyan, for example, right? It will have the aerial roots. In
Yeah, yeah,
Kannada, it
yeah.
is called Alada Mara.
Mm.
There is a Ashwath Mara. There is a Atti Mara. So all of these are of the same family. All of these have the same significance. Actually, these are the ones not only have spiritual religious significance, they also have socio-cultural significance.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to villages, uh, Ashwath Katte or early Katte are very, very common. It's like finding a church in an European village. Ashwath Katte, early Katte is a big people tree or that family tree. Katte means basically
The
a
sitting
platform
place,
created.
yeah, the sitting,
Yeah,
no, there's a
sitting place.
round sitting. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so common everywhere
yeah.
actually across India.
Panchayat, exactly.
And usually they
Panchayat
have
happens there
banyan or
only.
people trees there. That's true.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also called in Kannada, it is called Somberi Katte. Somberi in Kannada actually means lazy. So lazy people sitting
I love
around.
those sit outs. Yeah, I'm always looking out for it. And you know what is
Yeah,
amazing?
so
I had gone to Taiwan for
also
some
supposed to
time.
give you very good sleep.
Oh, really? I didn't know. I'll try it next time. I had gone to Taiwan, and even there in a village, they had the very similar to India. This tree with that round sitting. I was like, oh, yeah.
Exactly, that is also referred to as Nagar Katte.
Oh,
Nagar Katte, Nag is snake.
that's
Okay,
so
so that is one
surprising.
reference to the same plant coming back.
Because we are
Okay,
just sitting there
I'm gonna use this.
chilling, and there are snakes coming.
I know. And you know what? To be very honest, I'm just thinking aloud, and it could also be related to the aerial roots of banyan, right? Like they look like snakes. There's something hanging,
Mm.
long, twining ones. So it may even have like just a visual connotation, which may have become, be the source when it started, but may have taken other meanings as we go along. So yeah, that is one thing about snakes and this particular set of tree. Another plant which I have on the farm, which has connection to the spirituality in the snakes. Again, we don't know the real source of this. This again could be a very visual connection just made and then having taken spiritual meaning later on. If you come to Bangalore, Bangalore has a bunch of these trees, but otherwise these are South American trees. In South America, they're called as cannonball trees.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I know cannonball trees.
Yeah. So in Kannada, it is called as Naga Linga Pushpa.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
Hindi also Nag
Naga.
Panchami or something it's called, no? Naga something only.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it is called that, but that's a very visual connection. Both the name cannonball tree, because the tree has cannonball like huge
Yeah, yeah,
fruits.
yeah.
Nagalinga Pushpa is also because I'll send you the photo of that. The fruit, the flower of that is basically
Yes.
one small globule at the center, and there's a hood-like thing which is on the top, which is Naga Linga Pushpa. So it is probably only visual connotation. Okay, maybe there was no historical spiritual connection, but ever since it kind of came into the folklore, people have associated that tree and that flower with the spirituality and Shiv Puja a lot more. So yeah, these are some plants which again I got that tree similar to a Rudraksha connection after I visited Brazil. I went to Brazil in 2016. I saw huge lines of them. I had to find one, got back to Bangalore, sourced one, got one, and it's thriving on my farm.
But they are not so rare because I have seen them a lot, like a lot of ashrams. Even here I'm at Isha Ashram right now and they have one. Ramana Ashramam, they have a huge one right opposite the shrine and they take flowers from it and they offer it to the shrine very often. These are not rare,
They're
I
not
think.
rare at all.
Yeah.
They're not rare. They're not rare like Rudraksha. None of the trees we've discussed today, including Atti, Ala, Ashwata, are rare. They're to be found everywhere. It's just that people sometimes don't realize the spiritual connections behind them.
I also never did. I was just very happy seeing them because it's very interesting to see. Those flowers are beautiful and the stem has those interesting branches like roundish ones.
It is very fragrant also, by the way.
Fragrant, so fragrant, very nice.
Yeah,
So
there are many such common ones which have, like, spiritual connections across religion, culture, and some even in the roots of mysticism and Atharvana Veda, some with black magic and things like
mm.
that. So
And even I think Buddhist connection is there, because I've seen, I had been to one monastery kind of a place in Thailand, and there was this whole flock of foreigners just taking photographs with it, selfies. And I was like, what
yeah,
is going on? Because it's so
yeah,
common for
some of
us, right? We don't take selfies with cannonball trees.
Bangalore, if you know, has a place called Dodda Alada Mara, big banyan tree. It is called big banyan tree. If you Google Maps, or you can find it in Google Maps. It is called big banyan tree. Basically, a banyan tree which has spread its roots across square kilometers area. There is a Parijat tree somewhere in UP. Okay, look it up. Actually, if you search for Parijat tree UP, you will find a lot of people kind of go there to worship. There is obviously some of the more popular and global ones are the olive tree in Athens.
I mean,
So
there is a connection between all these trees, or these are just uh,
no, these are all kind of trees which are regionally, placed. People go for tourist, these things, but have spiritual connections outside. People do go and take selfies. I know you were referring to in Thailand somebody taking selfies, and we don't do it. Actually, we do it, but it's so much mired in spirituality that not everybody who takes a selfie realizes why they're taking a selfie. So a couple of those examples from India were the big banyan tree here, the one in Kolkata, the Parijat tree in UP. The global ones are like the olive tree in Athens. Actually, again, I think we should segue into the olive tree at this point, right? Like, but before I do that, the one other tree which I have taken selfie with, as you're mentioning, is the Newton's apple tree.
oh,
In
okay.
Cambridge, UK, there is actually an apple tree. Okay, right opposite what was supposed to be Newton's hostel room or his living room.
Okay.
Newton basically studied in Cambridge, and that tree is called as Newton's apple tree, and is supposed to, I don't know how much of it is reality or
Yeah.
just folklore. That tree is supposed to come from like your third, fourth generation of the same Newton's apple tree under which he sat and discovered gravity. Anyway, those are some of the reasons why I do what I do, I'm telling you. But yeah, going to the Greek one I was talking to you about,
Olive
right?
tree.
Again,
I
yeah, I
didn't
have an
know there was
olive.
anything spiritual about it, because I spent a lot of
Really?
time. No, yeah, I spent a lot of time cycling in a olive. It was called Olive Way, because both sides there were farms of olive trees, farms and farms. Max I did was I tried to eat the fruit, and it was absolutely unripe, so it was horribly tasting. So I just threw it back. That's what I went on. I didn't know there was anything spiritual. What are the
Olive
connections?
is the most spiritually significant tree in the biblical and
Yes.
in actually both in Christianity as well as Jewish and Muslim beliefs. One of the things was how the Greek city Athens was called Athens.
Yeah.
So Athens, is named after the god Athena.
Hmm.
Okay, so Athena is a Greek god. So when city of Athens was formed, it was not yet named Athens. And then the Greek king kind of called upon the two goddesses. If I remember, I think one was the goddess of sea,
Hmm.
and the other was Athena. And they were told, you will have a competition, create something magical, and then let the people of the city decide who they want to pick as the new chieftain of the city. The goddess of the sea kind of stuck a arrow into the ground, and a water sprinkler kind of came out of the earth, and sea water kind of gushed out, because he was also the goddess of sea and all of that. And then Athena actually created a magical olive tree out of it, which kind of bore fruits and all of that. And the people of Athens kind of chose the Athena as the
Hmm.
new ruler of the city, and that is how the name of the city came out to be Athens. That is only one of the stories. Olive has Noah's Ark. Have you heard of the dove and the olive? A dove carrying the olive
Yeah, yeah.
branch.
Oh, olive branch. Okay. Okay, I
olive
never
branch is
thought
a
of it.
symbol of peace and prosperity and all of that, right? That is because
Right.
when the earth was flooded and Noah's ark was like Noah was in kind of
They were
hiding
looking for
and didn't
land
know
and
what was
stuff. Yeah.
happening. Exactly. He sent the dove to
Yeah.
go look for it, and dove brought back the olive branch, and that
Mm.
became the symbol of things. Otherwise, olive is like you talk to. I've had Middle Eastern friends.
Mm.
Middle Eastern moms use olive as a medicine for everything and anything. Like यहाँ पे सरसों का तेल, like North India सरसों का तेल, South India कोकोनट का तेल जैसे होता है ना, कुछ
Yeah,
भी
yeah,
हो जाए
yeah.
तेल लगा दो हो जाएगा
Yes.
तेल मालिश कर दो हो जाएगा
Mm.
खाने में डाल दो सिर पे डाल दो बॉडी पे डाल दो सब कुछ के लिए. That is how olive also used in those things, but also lots of such again historical, mythical, spiritual connections with olive. And olive and ficus, by the way, the Attimara have a similar connection, by the way. Both are very, very strong trees. Both are very hardwood, so hardwood that they're not used for too many carvings, etc., because it's so hard. But only things they're used for is for royalty.
Okay.
Both these trees are carved into thrones. The thrones of kings and queens and royalties were always made out of olive. In the whole European civilization, in India, a lot of the ficus trees are what give the royalty thrones. So yeah, again, that's the reason I have olive as well, which is thriving. Olive is there in India nowadays.
Olive
Rajasthan
is
grows a lot.
thriving. I thought olive needs deserty land. You don't have a desert area, no? You...
Olive doesn't need deserty land, actually. It's a myth again. Olive grows in Mediterranean region,
Right, that's
not
right,
in
actually.
not in the arid, deserts.
Okay.
So it requires, yes, what it requires is it cannot stand chill at all. It cannot be in a place where there is any amount of snow. So it has to be a little more dry, but not necessarily deserty region.
Okay.
So
That place I was
Rajasthan
cycling
actually
was
grows a lot.
little bit deserty, so I thought it was like that. Mm.
No, it's actually like, for example, Israel. It
Right.
is part of the desert, but
Right. It's
because
not
of the
actual
water
desert. It is,
retention,
yeah.
exactly. It'll not grow in Saudi Arabia, for example.
Right. But you're saying Rajasthan is where it's growing. So that again, it
Yeah,
is close
Rajasthan
to
is
a
very
desert.
growing. Yeah, but not in the deserty Thar
Right.
parts of
Yeah.
Rajasthan. So
I get that.
yeah.
Mm.
And
Okay, that's
Mediterranean
interesting.
is basically that when the desert meets the sand, the one side of the thing becomes too arid, which is the desert. The other side becomes the hilly Mediterranean, nice little coast, including Italy and Greece, and all of those parts is where it is at the end of the day.
Okay, I wasn't. Yeah, okay, good. That's a nice way of putting it. I wasn't aware of the connection with desert and Mediterranean. But so coming to this, when you say Atimara and olive are kind of similar, it's very interesting because olive makes sense that they would make olive such a big deal because it is part of the prosperity also. While this Atimara tree, I don't think it serves any purpose except that it just plays this role.
Yeah, maybe true from a human prosperity perspective. But in India, Atimara, Aladmara, Ashwatmara are one of the largest canopy trees. All these are canopy trees. And they're also, the fruits of Atimara are a big source for, if you want to go to one tree and find the maximum number of animal species, kind of finding it as a habitat,
that's
those
true.
are nothing but Atimara, Ashwatmara, Aladmara.
Yeah.
The people tree, burger tree are the ones. That is why Jungle Book is so much based in, Atimara, Aladmara, Ashwatmara. That is why people trees are what you swing, Mowgli swings by. So yeah, not from a human this thing, but yeah, Indian civilization, Hindu civilization hasn't been as human centric as probably the Western civilization, right? And also on that note, actually, one trivia for you is that the fruits of these trees, right? Atimara, Aladmara, Ashwatmara, and even Anjeer, they are like fruit from one tree is supposed to be very distinct from fruit from another tree, even if it is two different Atimaras. Okay, so that is because if you open any of these, including Anjeer, it is a very slimy kind of, like, it looks
It has
like there
all
are lots
those
of
tick, tick, tick,
insects
tick,
inside.
tick. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Insects like thing, right? There are actually insects.
Oh
So
my
the
God. Thank you for
variety
telling
of
me now how I'll eat an anjeer. I don't. I mean, I love anjeers, those ripe ones too.
so the variety of insects inside the fruits is what gives it the distinct nature and the taste and everything else. That is also one of the reasons why none of these fruits are used as prasad to gods at many places, by the way, because they're considered to be jhuta of the you know insects. Yeah, very very most of trivia things rather than spirituality. But yeah.
There is some connection with Jesus and anjeer, no? I mean, I don't know. He went to some tree and the tree didn't give fruit or something and he cursed it. Wasn't that a fig tree?
No idea. One plant I know I have on my farm because of Jesus connection is actually something called as Jesus Thorn.
Oh, what is? Never
So
heard of it.
the remember the circle thorn that Jesus wears when he's crucified?
Oh,
There's always a thorn
yeah,
around his
yeah, yeah.
head. There's actually a plant which
From
has
where those
thorns
thorns were
in
taken.
the shape. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they were taken or again it's a visual connection, but yes, it is called Jesus thorns, just like how Nagalinga Pushpa is called probably just because it looks like that rather than. But yeah, Jesus thorn is a plant. If you Google as well, you will actually get. It's a pretty common like vanity plant. A lot of people keep it in their balconies just because it looks good. It has these bright red flowers and all that. So,
Okay.
yeah. That's the connection that I know of Jesus and plants. I don't know about Anjeer actually.
I just checked it. There was apparently a story where Jesus was hungry when he was walking and he came to one tree and he looked for the fruit and there was none. So he cursed the tree saying, no one will ever eat your fruit like that.
Yeah, possible.
Because fig is not eaten much, no? It's very few people, or even now we started getting those ripe figs. But
actually, India में वो जो हमारे दादा दादी के generation people, they don't eat it because it is called jhuta. You actually ask your dada dadi, nana nani, they might give you a story about Anjeer and it's why it is
if
not
insects
eaten.
are there inside, Sandeep, I'm not sure I will also eat it from now on. I mean, I didn't know I was eating insects.
Don't worry about it. I didn't want to disrupt your diet in any way. But yeah, it's one of the trivia behind those trees from the family.
Great. So yeah, that's we've covered olives and Atimara fig and Jesus thorn also. That was interesting. I wasn't aware of that. So what else? Which are the other really?
Yeah, one other thing, just to go by, we shifting from Hindu beliefs and plants to Christian. One plant which is related to Islam and very common plant again, coffee.
Coffee, yeah. You told me. I was very surprised. I didn't know anything about that connection.
It is very actually, this is something which I discovered when I visited Chikmagalur. If you visit Chikmagalur, there is the biggest hill there it's actually not biggest, but yeah, Baba Budangiri.
I don't know that hill, but Chikmagalur has coffee plantations. I've been there.
Yeah, it's very famous. That's where it all started, and that is actually the connection as well. The most popular place there, hill station there, is called Baba Budangiri. Okay. Baba Budangiri. Giri is basically the Kannada for hill.
Yeah.
Baba Budan is the name of a Baba.
Okay.
That Baba is a Islamic Sufi saint. He came some centuries ago from Middle East. Apparently, he was the first one who brought the coffee seeds in India ever. Actually, there's also a myth saying that was the first coffee seeds ever brought out of Yemen. Yemen is where coffee was originally kind of cultivated and processed. And Yemeni people, to kind of maintain the monopoly, never used to send coffee seeds just like that. They always used to roast or bake the coffee seeds before sending, because that way they will not germinate anywhere else. And they will have monopoly, right? And this Baba Budan is supposed to have smuggled 7 coffee seeds. Again, so much mysticism. Okay, 7 is a very holy number in Islam, like 786 and all of that. So 7 coffee seeds. I don't know who might have created these stories, but that is how. And he is also supposed to be one of the pioneer saints in India for Islam, and have, has huge number of followers here. He's also one of the very early pioneers of Sufism from Islam.
Oh.
And Sufism and coffee have a very distinct spiritual connection. Coffee is the stimulant, right? It was at one point of time used as an intoxicant, almost to the level of artists having alcohol to create art. Was how coffee was used by the Sufi saints to create the Sufism mysticism around it. So in the whole Islamic thing, coffee was treated as a, the fuel for Sufism. It was considered a hypnotic drug. In many cases, it was considered medically, a drug to simulate when there is a pain management to be done. So yeah, it has deep roots in how it is done, and that has, obviously, when it comes to India, one small folklore can get spun in 100 different ways, and 100 different small stories kind of come out of it. So how many of this is kind of the traveling story making happening, or how many of this is really from the origins, is unknown. But it is true that coffee originates from the land of, uh, slightly Sufi, alienated or oriented Islam nature, which is from the Ethiopia, Yemen. It's not the core, Middle East part. It's the north of Africa, north, east kind of Africa, that where the Islamism works in a slightly different way. So yeah, coffee is one plant which is very, very popular in Islamism. So is date, as you can imagine, comes from that. It's supposed to be, yeah,
Middle East and all is full of dates and stuff.
yeah, it's supposed to be one plant from, Islamism. There is a lot about the Jannat, right? The whole paradise thing. So the dates are supposed to be the plants from the paradise and all of that. And it's also, it is quoted as a lot of proverbial things. If you spend some time in Middle East, you will hear all these old people quoting date tree, be like a date tree kind of thing. So that's also because, like, it has nothing, it takes nothing and grows in a desert and gives sweet fruits, right? There's also the whole thing of, with date palms, the thing is about roots, how strong and how deep the roots are, because they have to go really deep and far to get even one drop of water. So grow your deep roots is kind of one of the proverbial statement which is associated with dates. So yeah, these are a couple ones which again are associated in, spiritual Islamism in way complicated. I mean, these are probably, I'm just touching, as a outsider. If you speak to somebody who's been there, done that a little more in that culture, they will probably give you as much the way I and you can speak about, burger,
more Indian stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe they'll be able to give a lot more about it.
So interesting. Never thought of it like this. Like dates, one can.
And all of these are things which are there on the farm for these specific reasons, for all that matters. So
you have a date tree, is it?
Yeah, I have a date tree.
Oh.
Not yet yielding. It's still going. It's doing its job of getting the roots deep, I guess. But yeah, I have it.